What happens if I told you that by understanding this simple formula, you potentially can see a massive turnaround in your finances? Hey everyone, this is Richard. Around about 3 years ago, me and my wife started a journey to really get us out of debt. Along the way, we learned a whole lot of lessons. And in part one of the series, I just spoke a bit about the journey that I had gone on and some of the changes and shifts that I had to go through to really reach a point where we could end up beginning to live in such a way that would help us to become debt-free. In this video, I just want to share some of the practical steps that we took that helped us achieve this end. And I really think that if you took on some of these steps, they may help you. Once again, I'm not a financial advisor and I cannot tell you how you can get out of your situation. All I can do is share a journey that we went on that really worked for us, and hope that by you hearing our story and our journey, it may help you in your journey as you begin to journey towards getting out of debt. Well, one of the key things to getting out of debt is that you need to have a budget. And for my wife and myself, getting together a budget wasn't something we had done as a couple, and so it was really a new step for us. And I had gone online, I had looked up a whole lot of budgeting things, and all of them were just so complex to run and do. I downloaded app after app after app, thinking this is really going to help us, this is really going to help us budget. And all of them, there was a level of kind of complexity that was involved in making them work that meant that even though I wanted to do it, I ended up not doing it. And so after a while, when I was at the point of giving up, I stumbled across just this really simple, unique formula that really revolutionized my thinking when it came to budgeting. If you have more coming in than going out, you can get out of debt. But if you have less coming in than going out, you'll end up in more debt. That was the simple formula that changed everything for me. For your budget to be effective to help you get out of debt, what comes in must be greater than what goes out. It seems so obvious when you say it, but actually when I sat down, took my bank statements and had a look, what I realized was that for a huge amount of time, how we were living meant that what was going out was always greater than what was coming in. We were always chasing ourselves. We were always trying to catch up with what we owed. We could never pay things down or get rid of debt or end up at a place where we didn't owe anybody anything. We spent all of our time just trying to ensure that what was coming in would kind of meet what was going out. Until we made this shift and change in our finances, it really meant that we couldn't tackle our debt and become debt-free. And I think the same could be true for you. If you just applied a simple formula to your finances, is what's coming in greater than what's going out? It means that all of the excess, all of the extra that's come in, you can put towards your debt until you have no more debt. And so there we were. We had this simple formula: what comes in needs to be greater than what goes out. And as I looked at my finances, I began to realize that there were just two kinds of expenditures that I had: uncontrollable expenditures and controllable expenditures. Uncontrollable expenditures are expenditures that you need to make that are outside of your control. This will be things like your rent or your mortgage. It's going to be direct debits you have set up, or standing orders. Car repayments could be one of those things. Your water, your gas, your energy bills. The problem is, it also means it's the repayments on any loans you've taken out or debt you've incurred. All of these are uncontrollable expenditures. These expenditures have to be paid, and if they're not paid, there are consequences for them not to be paid. Oftentimes, those are fixed costs. There are things that you can't go about and change or make a difference in. All that you can do is make sure that what's coming in at least is covering all of your uncontrollable expenditure. But then you've got your second type of expenditure, which is controllable. And controllable expenditure is expenditure where you can choose how much money you're spending. This will be the kind of lifestyle you lead, how often you go out or eating takeout, or even your food bill. These will be things where you can adjust the amount of money that you're spending to do the thing that you're wanting to do. This controllable expenditure is where you begin to be able to make shifts to ensure that what's coming in is greater than what's going out. So what did I really mean by this? Well, for me and my wife, what it really meant is we had to ask questions around our lifestyle. We may have been living a great lifestyle and enjoying everything about it, but it also meant that we were spending more than we were making. And so while we couldn't change what our mortgage was on our house, while we couldn't change our car payments, while we couldn't change council tax or our water bill or our energy bill or our broadband bill, what we could change was some of the lifestyle choices we had made so that they would cost us less. This meant maybe lowering the kind of food that we were eating, going out a lot less, not taking big holidays. And all of those shifts meant that what we began to see is that our income began to become incrementally bigger than our outgoings. And while this wasn't ever huge, it wasn't ever like all of a sudden we had a mass amount of money that we never had before. What it did mean is that there was extra money at the end of every month that we could begin to write against our debts. And for some of you, I think that could be the first thing that you really need to do, is you need to sit down and look at your controllable expenditure. That's the expenditure you can really change. And ask yourself, is this really matching up and meeting up with what I'm wanting to do? Is this matching up and meeting up with the outcome that I'm trying to get to? It may mean that you need to begin to decrease those certain parts of your lifestyle and spend less on them so that you can begin to see how much you've got coming in becoming bigger than what goes out. For me, I had to be comfortable with seeing that actually what was happening is that I was paying for a lifestyle that I thought may make me happy, rather than actually paying for the lifestyle that would make me happy. And so by understanding this simple formula, I now had a way to be able to tackle my finances. And so every month I would simply look at my bank statement and go, is what's going out greater than what's come in? And if it was, I would then look and say, where are the places in the controllable expenditures that I can make some changes to? There were a couple of practical steps that we had to take. The first is we cut up our credit cards. A lot of people may know how to manage credit cards well. Normally, if you're in debt, it means you can't manage your finances effectively. And by cutting up your credit cards, it means you're not going to be at a place where you're overspending, where you're able to spend more than you're making. That for us became a massive shift in how we had to live our lives. All of a sudden, we couldn't just put something on the credit card. We need to ensure we had the money in the bank to be able to pay for it. And so one of the first practical things we did, we took a pair of scissors, cut up the credit card, and then just started to pay it off. The second thing we did is we started to pay off the smallest debts we had. Dave Ramsey speaks about using the snowball effect to pay down your debt, and we found that really worked for us. And I'd encourage you to read his book, Total Money Makeover. If you haven't, you'll find it really helpful. But in Total Money Makeover, Dave Ramsey speaks about looking at your debts and making sure you pay your minimum repayments on everything you need to, and then putting a little bit extra onto the smallest of those debts. Get rid of your smallest debt as quick as you can, and then take all of the money, so the minimum repayment from the smallest debt and the extra that you were putting on, and put it against the next smallest debt. And when that's paid down, take that amount and put it against the next. And you'll begin to find that in the snowball effect, your debt starts to decrease really quickly, because more and more you're putting extra money in to keep paying and keep paying and keep paying. It's a really great way to be able to ensure that you are paying down your debts really, really effectively and quickly. And the third shift that I did, I started to look at my bank account every day. Up until this point, I hardly ever went online to look at my bank account, mostly because I was embarrassed, a little bit because it hurt too much, and a little bit because it frightened me when I did look at it. But every day I decided I need to go on and see what's happening with my money. I need to make sure that my expenditure isn't going to exceed what's come in. And the only way to do that is to know what's happening. And so we just built a habit in that every day we would begin to look at our money to see what's going on. I would really encourage you to do the same thing. Log on every morning and just see where things are at in your finances. No matter how painful that may be, no matter how hard that may be, what it begins to let you do, it begins to let you know this is where things are at with my money. And it also lets you begin to look at your controllable expenditure and go, what things here may I need to change or shift or lower so that I can end up becoming debt-free in a couple of years' time. We found that by simplifying our budgeting and by just using the simple formula and ensuring every month that what comes in is always greater than what goes out, in 3 years we had become debt-free. I do think it's possible for you to be debt-free. I believe that you can do it. And I believe that it's something that will transform and revolutionize your life when you no longer have to sit worrying about every penny that's coming in, because you know that as long as more is coming in than is going out, you can remain debt-free. I hope you found this helpful. I'd really encourage you to put some of this into practice. Please leave a comment down below. Please click the like button if you like this video. Why not think about subscribing to the channel? Once a week we put out videos that I hope you find helpful and just stimulate your thinking, but also help you live the best life that you can live. Have a great rest of the week.